So we know how to control the plane now, right? We use the flight control surfaces and that makes the plane roll, pitch, and we'll talk about why they all work the way they do in a little bit. But now we have to ask ourselves the question, why does the plane fly? I mean, we turn the engine on, we push the throttle into full, and we're traveling down the runway, and then somehow we wind up in the air, but how does this surface, how does the wing produce lift? Well, if you've been around aviation for a long time, you've probably heard the term Bernoulli's principle a whole lot. The truth is, Bernoulli's principle is very important, but it's not the only thing that makes this wing fly. Bernoulli's principle states that the air traveling on the upper cambered side of the wing, or the upper surface, will accelerate and create an area of low pressure compared to the area on the underside. Now this is true, this does happen, but his theory accounts for the air meeting each other at the end of the wing, at the trailing edge of the wing, and this just doesn't happen. While we do get a lot of lift from Bernoulli's principle can't account for the entire amount of lift that picks this plane up into the air all on its own. To do that, we have to add in another physicist, and you know him very well because he's the one who theorized gravity. Enter Newton. What pilots tend to forget, though, is that Newton's third law also says that something is going to happen on the underside of the wing. Let's think about this for a moment. This wing is traveling through the air, and as air hits it, one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to go straight back, or it's going to get deflected downward. This normally happens in a combination of the two, where it gets deflected down at an angle. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That forces this wing up. So, while Bernoulli's principle is 100% correct, we can't forget about Newton's third law, because it plays an important part in producing lift as well. You need both of them in order to get the wing to fly. See, the problem with Bernoulli's theory alone is that it assumes that the air traveling over the top of the wing reconnects or meets with the air traveling on the underside of the wing at the trailing edge on the opposite side. But that never happens. In fact, a University of Cambridge study found that the air traveling over the wing never meets back up with the air traveling on the underside of the wing. It's always moving faster, and thus it never meets up with the counterpart on the underside. What does that mean? It means, in theory, that saying Bernoulli's principle is the reason we're able to produce lift is incorrect. Bernoulli's right. Yes, we do create an area of low pressure on the top of the wing, and we subsequently create an area of high pressure on the underside. But to say that that is the only reason that the wing flies is patently false. Now, if it's all about the wind traveling over and around the wing, how do we measure lift? I'm glad you asked. It's something called the angle of attack, and it's pretty important in every bit of flying we ever do. Let's talk about that really quick, because that's going to come up a lot. I'm going to pause for a brief moment because I just misspoke. We don't use the angle of attack to measure lift. We use it as a way of controlling lift. And that's one of two ways. We can either control the airspeed traveling over the wing or the angle of attack. Both of those will affect the lift we're producing. Now, what is the angle of attack? Well, the angle of attack is the angle of the chord of the wing, or this imaginary line that goes from the leading edge of the wing to the trailing edge of the wing. It's the measurement of that line, the chord, to the relative wind. And the relative wind is the wind that we produce by moving through the air. Imagine if you were riding a bicycle. It would be the wind that hits your face because the bicycle is moving forward. That is the angle of attack, and that is one of the ways that we control lift.